Thank you for joining us this morning. The state's goal is to lead the nation in emergency management and preparedness. Today, we are releasing the All Hazards Preparedness Improvement Action Plan and report that was prepared as directed by Executive Order 1801. This action plan is comprehensive and covers the major requests in my executive order. As a result, I consider this to be the final report rather than having a 30-day report and a 60-day report. This report covers both the short-term and broader long-range discussions. This is the beginning of a process. We are committed to having the best emergency management agency that interacts with all levels of government. It's just a reminder again that a missile attack is an act of war, and collaboration with the federal government is essential and required. The report identifies a breakdown in leadership and management at the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, and we are actively seeking a new administrator who will build the team that will implement the recommendations that are contained in this report. I just would like to remind everyone that Hawaii is ahead of the game. No one else is talking about or responding to all hazards as the state of Hawaii has done. We expect that we will begin the process and engage everyone necessary. We are identifying gaps and vulnerabilities for handling all hazards so that the residents in our state can be prepared. And with that, I'll turn this over to General Hara, who can summarize the findings in the report.
Thank you, Governor Ige. I'd like to begin by thanking the core team members and the emergency management professionals that contributed to this report. Without their contributions, there's no way we'd be able to produce this report. Core team consisted of 7 individuals that selected to create diverse representation. We reviewed current emergency response systems and identified recommendations for improvement. The report is written by and prepared as a roadmap for emergency management planners. It can be used as a guide to help reshape how emergency management is organized and how resources are prioritized and allocated to respond to any hazard efficiently and effectively. The report focuses on preparations required after any disaster, not only the ballistic missile threat. It identifies a need to prepare a strategic plan for the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. Identifies a need to update the state's all hazards catastrophic plan, which includes publishing a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear annex. It recommends a whole of community approach, including all emergency management stakeholders in the planning process to address the gaps and vulnerabilities that exist today. It confirms and agrees with Brigadier General Retired Oliveira's investigative reports, all of the findings and recommendations. Other key details include a complete comprehensive annex or plan to address the ballistic missile preparedness threats had not been fully developed prior to the commencement of the missile alert testing and the internal missile alert drills, nor had it conducted a risk assessment. There's a misconception that Governor Ige and other elected officials are primarily responsible for timely warning and notification. The responsibility to identify the requirements for existing alert system and rapid notification remains with the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, specifically the state warning point. The state warning points established ballistic missile alert checklist did not have a step to notify the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency's public information officer. This missing key step also contributed to the delay in rapidly informing the media and the public. Observations also point to the improper management of the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. Senior leadership lacked awareness of personnel issues within the organization. Key observations and recommendations include the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency needs to publish a new comprehensive strategic plan that provides vision and direction, prioritizes energy and resources, facilitates decision-making, and identifies goals and objectives. As part of this process, HAIMA needs to conduct a comprehensive review and assessment of organizational roles and performance. The strategic plan will likely drive reorganization, changes to plans, policies, and procedures. Other observation recommendations, the need for improvement in technological capability. This is primarily the software that the state warning point used to notify the public. As was mentioned in General Oliveira's report, they did not have a system to do what we call a credentialed two-step process to send the message out. So what we asked them to investigate is to see if you can have the first person that initiates the message to have a login and password, and then a second person, more than likely the supervisor at the state warning point, to also be able to log in and password before the message can be sent. It also recommends to enforce current statutes, the Hawaii Revised Statutes 127A and Executive Order, Administrative Directive 15-01 with dealing with emergency management. We just need to review what the requirements are and to verify compliance. Also to develop and deliver training and education programs for the public, government leaders, and also the emergency management employees. Lastly, I look forward to partnering with the new Hawaii Emergency Management Agency leadership as we improve preparedness for all hazards. Thank you.
As you just heard, General Hara's report includes a number of observations and recommendations, including a request for funding. I will be asking and sending a governor's message to the state legislature asking for just over $2 million about funding required to build capacity in the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. It is about the safety and security of the people of Hawaii and being committed to a state warning point and a Hawaii Emergency Management Agency that can serve and warn the people of Hawaii of impending disasters. But the warning function is a government function that cannot be handled by the state alone. The report does talk explicitly about working with all levels of government, federal, county, and state. And I think just as importantly, individuals, businesses, families, the community in general, to really build a disaster preparedness system that can lead the country. As we take these action steps described in the report, we will become a stronger and more resilient community. As the General had said, Mayor Harry Kim, who I think people of Hawaii have come to learn and trust as the best in terms of knowledge of disaster preparedness, has been a vital part of the General's team, and I invited him to say a few words here this afternoon.
Hey, I'm not used to formality. I'm standing back there, and everybody looks like we went to a funeral or something. Before I came out, she said, make sure everybody's things are in place. And I said, what things? All joking aside, when the governor asked me and to speak, be part of, I really wanted to know if he really wanted me in this, because I would say what I would say. I saw the report, read the report. As I've told him this morning in closed doors, I thought this was a good report, a very comprehensive report, and I don't know how many hours he put in it, but I could have done it in one page. And that one page was emphasized by both, and I'm extremely pleased with this governor, because I thought some of it would be touchy and would be kind of pussyfooted. The problem to me was real simple of what happened. We have some management problems, and that has to be fixed. I wanted that to be emphasized and not tampered with. We have a management problem. I pointed it out in regards to the planning mechanism, and it is in writing. First time we pointed it out was in July, and a couple of times after that to HAIMA, that we do not approve of this because certain things need to be addressed. I'm extremely glad that the governor is not wavering on the commitment to do what is right. He has assured me that he will address ASAP these things that General Hara has pointed out. I pointed out to him my priority is get good people on board ASAP, address the management problem that is there. Nothing will be fixed unless those things are fixed. So I thank the governor for doing this and General Hara for such a good report.
Thank you. We're available for questions.
Governor, you're an engineer.
Yes.
Form follows function, and all hazards, all-encompassing, weather-related emergency management system versus a ballistic missile, it's two different animals.
It definitely is two different animals, but it has to be part of a comprehensive plan. It can't be done piecemeal. I mean, I think the one recommendation that the mayor had suggested a while ago, and that I agree, and it's included in this plan, is that we suspend the ballistic missile alert testing program until we can create a comprehensive chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear annex to the catastrophic plan. You know, we do know that everyone in our community wants to know what it is that they should do should an alert occur. And until we can complete that plan, there are too many questions to be answered.
A lot of people in the public say that much more time should be spent on risk assessment, risk versus benefit, because the highly unlikely event of a ballistic missile attack drove a plan that really scared a lot of people.
Certainly, and we realize that. I think the assessment that was made that initiated this planning was the notion that the political rhetoric in Washington was escalating, and certainly the president and the leader in North Korea certainly seemed to be escalating the dialogue. I just would like to remind you that over the last 24 months, North Korea has launched 35 missiles. Each missile is getting better. At the same time, they've exploded a nuclear device, which has 10 times more powerful than the previous devices. So we do believe that it's in our best interest to begin the planning. I agree with the mayor that we need to have a comprehensive plan before we proceed with testing, and that's why one of the recommendations is that we suspend testing until we can complete a better plan.
Governor, what does $2 million pay for? Like some highlights of that.
The $2 million would pay for a couple things. One is really to help with a strategic plan for the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, really focus on roles and responsibilities, vision, long-term objectives. It would help us potentially reorganize the organization and make sure that we can break down the silos and really focus on the broader mission of ensuring that the people of Hawaii are warned should there be a pending disaster, and more importantly, that we can work with all levels of government, federal, state, and county, to ensure that our community and the government's response can be coordinated to reduce the impact on the public. So that's the first ask. The second ask is really about supporting all the work that needs to be done to complete the comprehensive chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear annex to our catastrophic preparedness plan. You know, there will be technical work required. We will definitely need to engage the federal government in that conversation, as well as prepare necessary studies and guidelines for what the plan should include. The third ask is really about public engagement, a public information campaign. One of the big lessons learned, I think, from this event was the fact that although we had made efforts to engage the public in preparedness, we were not successful. Too many people in our community did not know what the action steps should be. and there were many questions that were generated from the false alert.
How does this fall in line, though, with what Senator Schatz is trying to do with having the federal government take over the role of alerting?
Well, you know, we are committed to having the best emergency preparedness plan and the best emergency warning system that we can. We would welcome participation from the federal government. We know that there is a lot that goes into a warning system. If you look at the report, the general did try to encompass what is required at the federal, state, county levels for the warning activity. But what's really not focused there is really what action is required after. So we would want to make sure that we have a comprehensive warning program, that everybody is clear about who can initiate alerts. And I think most importantly, that the follow-on activity, whether it be federal, state, or county levels, can do the best on behalf of the people of Hawaii.
So, but if FEMA says, well, they're going to do this from now on when it comes to the missile alerts, then...
Certainly they are involved today with the missile alert, and you know, we definitely are committed to working with them should they decide that that should be their responsibility.
Your plan can still work around that.
Absolutely. You know, our plan encompasses all hazards, and we currently are responsible with the counties for natural disasters, right? Hurricanes, tsunami alerts, storm warnings, and that. So, as I said, our citizens deserve a comprehensive system that alerts and warns the public of a pending disaster, and more importantly, that can direct activities and actions that's required to keep our community safe.
You mentioned the $2 million. What does it cover? All these recommendations that were made from this report, how much would it cost for all of these? And also, more importantly, how long will all that take?
Well, certainly some of the recommendations are longer term. So you'll see one of the items identified was the fact that we only have one deep draft harbor. And clearly from a total state preparedness resiliency program, we would need to have a second deep draft harbor so that we can continue importation of goods. You know, that is a very expensive undertaking. And so the report identifies that as a long-term objective, but we don't have a cost estimate for that. So there are a number of things that are long-term. There are a number of things that are purely within the scope of existing activities, and it really is about prioritizing existing resources and activities that the agency is currently doing, and other state agencies. So not everything in the report would require funding. We do believe that the $2 million or so really accelerates our preparedness activities and will prepare us and really accelerate the improvement that I think that our community deserves.
So with that $2 million in funding, to get all of these in place, how long will it take for that money to go into effect?
Well, I think it's a couple things. First and foremost, it really is about hiring a leader. So we are in the process. Haima had been advertising for a new administrator. We have accepted applications. Hopefully in the next few days we can complete the interview and hiring process. Second activity is really about a strategic plan and talking about goals and missions and looking at whether we might need to reconfigure or restructure the agency. You know, I do believe that that can be done in a couple of months, and it would be something that would allow us to take immediate action. And I think longer term, obviously, there are a number of things that would take a much longer time to complete. So I think those things that we've identified for the immediate requests are things that we believe can be done in the next 12 months or so.
I have a question for Mayor Kim. Did you apply, Mayor? No.
He has a current job, but
Mayor, you talked about capacity, technological capacity versus capability. We're talking about people. I mean, you were there in 1986, cool event. You were the sole man. You were a one-person band. Who are you looking for as an administrator?
You know, there's misconception on what makes a good manager, administrator. I need a professional planner. I need someone whose job has shown capabilities on this, quality of work he does or has done. The governor knows that I've recommended someone. Lives on the mainland now. I called him, and I don't know if I'm violating any process here. I don't think I am, because this is an appointed position. I think this guy is great. When I called him up, I said, I think we really could use your help. Would you consider coming here so I can refer your name? And he needed a day and a night to talk to his wife about moving back from Arizona to here. And he called to say that he would. And I submitted his, reference.
Has he worked in a similar role here before?
He worked with the military. And he moved here for a while in the Big Island as a retiree.
So,
But he has done this kind of work in regards to review, for example. He did a review of Katrina. I think the review of Iraq. I mean, huge things, but also a commander in those things that I really look for as far as a very strong leadership. And let me expand a little bit in regards to when I wrote those letters to Haima, don't do this, because they're very, very serious concerns, because I'm a planner too, not on his level, but what is required. It's not just public education, because all you got to do is think of yourself. If this happens, we got to work with the hospitals, their job. A simple thing that everybody look for is monitoring of radioactivity. Everybody needs that information to know what is safe, when, where, etc. We don't have that program. When you say about federal responsibilities, they are the ones that we depend on: Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, National Weather Service, HVO. They're all federal, military, obviously. But when it comes to preparedness, response level to the community level, it is of the state and of the county government. All your hospitals, all your police, all your fire, those are the people I'm addressing, that we need time to help them prepare on their responsibilities. And that's why I said, hold the phone till we can get that ready.
Mayor, did you get any sort of a response to your letters, and is there any sort of indication why these missile drills continued despite there not being something in place?
There's no right or wrong on my positions. Just I really felt this was not more important. This was very important. We do this now because it calls for tremendous coordination, preparedness, planning, discussion on how we're going to react to this hazard and consequent risk. You must have background to use that word, and because that's key. Know what the hazard is, know what the risk is, and therefore plan accordingly. The response was that, they're going to do this because they feel that this is critical. We do this now, and these things will be addressed down the road. My contention, and the governor knows this, and he agrees, and I'm very glad of that, that we should do this in part. We'll never be finished that, but at least the major things, like the schools, like the hospitals, like the police. Can you imagine if you're a police officer and you're not told what your responsibilities are? And that's because I'm on the lowest level of planning.
Mayor Ken, General Antonio Taguba is retired now, but, he doesn't, being in Arizona, he doesn't know how to build a team. Are you going to help him build that team at Haima?
I'm going to be part of it. He asked me straight if I decide to come over, what is our role, our relationship going to be? And naturally, I need a governor's support, which he gave me, anything he wants, because this is important that we do this for the state. And I don't want to get philosophical, but it's not. We've got to work to get back the trust of the people towards us, because if we don't have that, we have nothing. And it is our responsibility, to do this.
And your role,
Any
Governor?
questions? Well, certainly, you know, I'm looking to ensure that we hire the best leader we can find. You know, Mayor has done a terrific job of identifying some people, and we are in the process of accepting applications, and hopefully we'll be in the next few days being able to identify a leader.
Governor, the report highlights the major inadequacies from ports to electricity, shelters. Why did it take so long for the state to recognize this?
No, I think the state has recognized this for a long time. You know, the entire world infrastructure has changed to just-in-time provisioning, right? I mean, if you look at all the warehouses that used to exist in our community, and they're all gone. So it's something that I think the state and the counties have recognized, that this is the change in the way that business is done today. And so what we're doing is adapting our preparedness plans to reflect the core infrastructure that exists in our community as well as most communities around the country.
Maybe a question for Brigadier General
Hara.
Sorry about that. In a couple places, observations highlight errors in judgment over time within HIEMA where leaders did not follow or ignored standard operating procedures. Can you specify any further why you found, if you found in your investigation why this occurred, why there were these?
Right. So actually, those findings were based on General Oliveira, retired Oliveira's investigation. What we found was there were issues with performance, especially within the state warning point. Those issues were addressed to middle management. They did some counseling. They did not do what we call progressive discipline that I thought would have been appropriate. And more importantly, those issues weren't elevated to the higher level of management. So it kind of got stuck at the middle management.
And who specifically do you mean when you say high level management? Is that the administrator?
Administrator and the executive officer. They did not know about those issues.
But General Hara, was that a failure of followership or leadership? By having those people fail?
I think it was leadership, absolutely.
So when you say reconfigure that whole system,
Right.
what does that exactly mean?
So we looked at the different functions in the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, their different branches. So one area we said that their shortfalls is in the preparedness branch. But they're a rather large branch. I think they need the time to look at, can we repurpose some of these positions as opposed to coming back to the ledge and saying, hey, I need 6 additional people as an example. Let's relook at the entire organization, see if we can do internal reorg before asking for additional resources.
General Hara, what is your current HIEMA budget, and how much do you think it would need to be increased over time to try to meet some of these
Right, yeah.
goals that you
Unfortunately, I had my numbers this morning, but I forgot to bring it, but I'm not exactly sure. I just know that from 2017 to 2018, their budget went down roughly about 10%.
And how much do you think we would need to increase it, going forward over time to try to address some of
Yeah, so really we can't answer that. So if you look at a lot of the recommendations, some of the cost estimates are to be determined. Mm-hmm. And really, as the report states, and also what Governor Ige mentioned, is that we need to start with the strategic plan first. Realigning their mission, their vision, the goals, objectives. How do we measure those objectives? That's really the driving document that will answer most of those questions.
When do you expect that to be completed?
Until we do a request for proposal and get some professional help, I can't answer that.
But that would be part of that $2 million
Correct. Yes.
spending.
Yes.
Could you give us some update too on the hiring process? Do we know how many applicants that we have currently?
No. So the advertisement closed this past Friday. We do allow about 2 days for mail-in applications after the closeout date. So once we get that list to General Logan, then he'll make his determination. So we'll probably do interviews, more than likely by phone, because he's in Washington, D.C. this week. But the governor did ask him, if possible, to make a selection before the end of the week.
And how many candidates
I'm not sure.
General Hara, do you
Yes.
think that HAIMA has been completely forthcoming in its reporting to the media and the public about this situation? Because at times the story has evolved.
I think at the time that they put information out was what they thought was accurate. They had no intention to mislead. You know, in the military, we say the first report is always wrong. And in our rush to get information out to the media, some things were not factual. And as we identified those items, then we came back out to correct the previous statements.
For Mayor Kim, you said you sent a letter. When exactly? Well, what month did you say you sent it, and specifically who did you send that letter to?
To the administrator of HAIMA. And the first, it wasn't a letter, it was a statement by email of not to do this and to delay it until other things because of serious concerns. The last letter was in November, stating specific things that I thought should be addressed.
And the first one was in June?
July. I would like to take this opportunity to make what I wanted to say. Most important comment. The question was asked in regards to the different risk and a lack of equipment, supplies, and training. The truthful answer really is that the horrors of a nuclear holocaust is so great that we will never be able to be fully prepared. I think we all know that. So I know I'm cheating on time, but I'll always say that our mission, all of us, should be work for peace every day.
Mayor Kim, as you saw that you had felt that you saw the state going forward with this ballistic missile plan and alert. Was it because you work within the system? Was it something that you just expressed your opinion and you saw it moving forward, and then what could you do?
And so what we could do if
Well, you saw the state continuing to move forward despite your objections.
I have an ego, but I'm not they're in charge. They made a decision that this was the best way to address this threat. I disagreed on the steps doing it because I'm on the lowest level of planning. Our job is working with the agencies that deal with the people, which is quite different from HAIMA's responsibility or the federal. We're the ones that deal with the community. And the questions of hazard and risk, it's not a disagreement. But really, whether you're dealing with hurricanes, earthquakes, lava flows, or a nuclear holocaust, information dissemination is key. And I know that. So I know the planning mechanism that you need and information you need to do that. And I know we lacked that. The steps were broken. All it was, it started with a warning system. My responsibility is the steps all under that I said is not there. Give me time to prepare that. Prepare your master plan because we're required to develop our plan based on your plan. So the response came back that they will work on that. And my response was, should we not work on it first?
Mayor Kim, were you of the opinion that we do have an early warning system for a ballistic missile attack in terms of Japan, Guam, and all the other islands before us?
My assumption is this. We have nothing. We have nothing in regards to response. I don't care what anybody else has or do not have. I am given the responsibility of coordinating the plan for a major thing of monitoring for radioactivity. We terminated that program. The whole federal government program that terminated in the 80s. All the equipment, one equipment is thousands of dollars, which has to be calibrated every year. You have to train the personnel on that. Just that one very important issue on response is one of the reasons why I asked for a delay, at least begin that process. But I know that will include communication with the federal government because they're the ones that will fund that.
Questions for the governor. General mentioned that political leader training was part of this report, and it sort of brought to mind on the day of the missile mistake that you said that you weren't able to deliver a message via social media because you'd lost your Twitter account password. I was wondering, do you have it now? Are you?
No, I don't do Twitter in my office, so clearly I never had the password. So I could not issue the Twitter notification myself. It was really contacting staff and asking the staff to issue the alert.
Do you not see social media in the world we live in, the viral world, as being the immediate way of delivering the message to the public? And if you don't have access to it now, how quickly could you get that message out via social media?
I think it's very important to understand that the warning process and the state warning program and really the county and federal government warning program has to be comprehensive and integrated to have ad hoc kinds of messages going out for really life and death kind of situations. Can't be random and can't be irresponsible. So I think what the report showed was that we need to have a comprehensive system that connects state, federal, and county warners to be able to deliver clear communication to all of the people in the community. And clearly that's not, that was a failure in this event, and clearly that's something that the report identifies needs to be improved.
I guess my question then is, right now, you had to deliver a message right now. We're living a situation. How quickly could you get that message out?
Well, certainly we have already made the changes in the emergency warning system to have a cancel response so that the event on January 13th could not happen today. And so we continue to work. The report that the General is issuing and distributing today really does provide an action plan on how we can move forward to improve the entire system for all hazards. And I think it's very incumbent on all of us to really be committed to making the improvements necessary so that our community can have a system that they can trust.
I guess just one follow-up for the General is part of the report, you said political training, since I'm talking about social media here. Is that part of the training that our leaders are going to get?
No, it's so that they understand the entire emergency management process and the all hazards approach. In the report, you see again that the governor or elected officials are not responsible for the official notification. They can help and augment the official message, but all messaging should go through the state warning point or the county emergency operations centers, utilizing that system. So it goes from, and there's a chart in the report, so it starts from the federal level notifying us. Then we're using our software that informs the FEMA IPAWS system that sends out the wireless emergency alert and the civil emergency messages out through both cell phone and television. So when you hear a siren or if you get your phone alert, we say stay tuned, right? So it's paying attention to the messages that come out on your cell phones or to the television or the radio. That's the official messaging.
So the report said that the software, there was a change in software some late last year.
Right, it was about 2 months before the incident. They went to another vendor. So the previous software was very complex and difficult to make messages and to adjust the software. This new software really is the company is user friendly. So all of the recommendations that we had suggested, like for example, having another message for the either a false missile alert or an all clear message, that was done within a day. The one thing that they're working on technically, we're trying to get that two-person credential to where they actually log in. My concern as we were doing the research is that even if Hawaii Emergency Management Agency now added a two-person requirement, so one person initiates the message, you get the speed bump. We fixed the speed bump. Before it just said, "Are you sure?" That's all it said, "Are you sure?" Now it says, "Are you sure this is the real world ballistic missile threat message?" We want another person to click that button. But currently, if let's say you have somebody with an insider threat, the disgruntled employee, there's no no mechanism within the software that can prevent one person from initiating a message.
From doing both steps, in other words.
Correct. So that was our recommendation for the credentialed two-step process.
So in other words, the new software itself isn't the problem. It was how it was being used and how it was designed.
Right. And it's, again, going back to not doing a risk assessment. So looking at what is the likelihood of a false missile alert, and then if there is a false missile alert, what actions do we take to mitigate that risk? And by building those false missile alert or the all clear message, we could have instantaneously send out another message to correct the error.
On the test phone call that came in to the management center, it was recording. I was just curious, is it only tests that come in as recording, or would it be a live voice if it was a real situation?
So I think what we've learned in hindsight is the state warning point personnel got overwhelmed. So first off, when they clicked, they found out when their phone started going off. And that's when they realized that the employee had sent a real message. Then the phones just started ringing continuously. So we're probably going to have a separate phone installed with an unlisted number that key people from the media or key leadership can call into, so the state warning point personnel don't get overwhelmed. And we'll probably just go to the recording for the public.
But the message, the test message phone call that came in that was a recording, are it only test recording, or if it was an actual live scenario, would it be a real person on the phone?
As part of the alert,
Yeah. So when
I don't know about any recording. I know it's a banner that pops up on your phone.
I was under the
Yeah.
understanding that when the call was made to the emergency center, it was
Oh, the simulated call. Yeah, so what happened was the outgoing shift supervisor had planned this test, a no-notice test. Then she read a scripted message on her phone and played a recording over the phone. So two other recommendations that if you read the report is, first off, we're recommending any future testing or drills be conducted on a separate system, like a simulator that's not hooked up. So even if they do click the wrong button, it's not going anywhere. So that's the first thing. The second one is we don't see a need to do no-notice drills. I mean, the risk is not high enough right now.
And then for this report, you just said this here, so I'm just curious. There's only one phone line, so there's people in that room are getting calls from the public.
Well, there's one phone line, one number, but
Different lines.
yeah, it gets,
So
yeah,
the
correct,
Test simulated came in on a different line.
correct.
General, the major points of communication about an actual alert would be your cell phone with messages, the television,
Correct.
and radio. But if this were a real world situation.
And the siren,
And the sirens.
correct.
People are then trying to verify if this is real or not. I mean, what would you recommend someone doing? Just don't even verify it and then.
Right. So what we're trying to do as we build this comprehensive plan is to be able to rapidly get update messages to the public. So we can say like the threat is 2 missiles expected to hit in certain these are the anticipated points of impact. So give you more clarity on what the threat is. If it impacts, then we'll say, okay, we believe these are the what we call the hot zones or warm zones. So if you're not in this area, you're safe to come out. And then what are other actions that the responders are doing to try to evacuate people from those zones. So we want to build more, not just one message. We want to be able to continue providing information to the public. Another thing we're really working on is leveraging the State Emergency Communications Committee that all of you are members of, and looking at how we can partner with you and coming up with other ways to get information to you. So in the military, we have what's called a PACE plan. You have a primary means of communication, alternate, contingency, and emergency. So looking at redundant communication systems that if the phone lines are tied down, maybe there's another way that we can get the information to you.
I'm sorry, I've noticed that we've had, everybody's had a chance to have at least one question or one round or whatever. Just take a couple more, and then we can cut it off at that point.
General,
Okay.
I had a
TV
question.
and radio
Sorry.
are considered official, and siren are considered official, forms of communication to put the message out. Why isn't social media considered an official form of method to get that information out?
I think it is if it's coming from the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. That's why One of the recommendations is to add the Public Information Officer, or PIO, as a step that the state warning point contacts, and it'll be that person's responsibility to get to the media. So that's how we started messaging, right? On our official websites, we started posting information, to include Twitter.
So you do consider social
Yes,
media an official
yes.
form of this?
But I don't consider, someone from the public or even an elected official jumping in unless they're passing along the official message.
Sounds like there's more recommendations still to be implemented. Do you anticipate doing these ballistic missile drills at any time this year? Getting enough of these recommendations?
Not until we complete the strategic plan and the all hazards plan, to include that Seaburn Annex that we mentioned. That's going to be the decision point to reinitiate the drills.
So you don't anticipate that being today?
No, absolutely not. No, we're suspending all activities.
Best case scenario for when we would reinstitute those drills?
I think best case, if we get the money, just from my own strategic planning at the department, and when I was the chief of the Joint Staff, it took me about 8 months, because you got to pull in all of your stakeholders and really do a holistic look at all of your, how you organize, what functions do you have. It really took a lot of time. I would say best case. Yes.
Aside from the missile alerts, how different will the alert system be with regards to other types of disaster?
I don't think the missile alert, the alerts and warning would change in any way. It'll still go through the same system. You still get a message of the hazard, and then we'll follow up with more detailed information. Stay tuned.
So drastic changes will be.
Not for the alert and warning. All of the issues that we identified up front have already been corrected.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it. One really quick, just to follow up on the social media question. In this day of social media, and we have the Twitter president who's using his own account all the time, and you're choosing not to be connected to it personally. So do you not feel that it's important to have your own hands on the keypad there?
I do have many responsibilities that I have to do in the course of my normal day. And certainly I have not chosen to be actively engaged in social media.